I want to talk to you today about the height of confidence. So, when confidence is at its highest level, some of the things you will see so you know when the confidence is really where it needs to be. And we've been looking at the story of Gideon and Gideon, an account of his life. And we are in chapter 8 of Judges, and we're going to pick up in verse 18, and we're going to go through 35, I think. So let's go ahead and get started. So in verse 18 of chapter 8 of Judges, then said he to Zebah and Zalmunna, what manner of men were they whom they slew at Tabor? And this is Gideon asking this question. And they answered, as thou art, so were they. Each one resembled the children of a king. And he said, they were my brethren, even the sons of my mother. As the Lord liveth, if he had saved them alive, I would not slay you. And he said to Jether, his firstborn, up and slay them. But the youth drew not his sword, for he hesitated, because he was yet a youth. Then Zebah and Zalmunna said, rise thou and fall upon us, for as the man is, so is his strength. And Gideon arose and slew Zebah and Zalmunna, and took away the ornaments that were in their camels' necks. Then the men of Israel said unto Gideon, rule thou over us, both thou and thy son, and thy son's son also, for thou hast delivered us from the hand of the Medians. Now, this is where you start seeing the confidence of the strength of the confidence that Gideon had that led him to victory. And then you see those that will follow you in a sense because they know that you have that confidence that they need to be victorious. And so we see the same thing in business and anything else that we do. When your confidence is high, people will follow you. If your confidence is weak, they won't follow you, right? And so here they said, then the men of Israel said to Gideon, rule thou over us, both you and thy sons and thy sons' sons. So they saw that they could have victory in the hands of Gideon because of the victory he had already delivered to the Medians. And so this is a thing. We need to deliver some victory to the people that are following us so that they know that we have confidence and they're not just words, they're action. And I'm telling you, this is speaking to me very strongly. So, and for thou hast delivered us from the hand of the Median. So they have an example of his confidence and they say, hey, rule over us. And so when you have God's confidence, there's a great level of success that you will have because God delivers success to those who love him, who follow him, and are called according to his purpose. And Gideon said to them in verse 23, I will not rule over you, neither will my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. Now, here is a place where Gideon could have easily said, sure, I delivered you. Yes, I'd be glad to rule over you. But Gideon was not operating out of his own personal confidence. He was operating out of the confidence of God. Therefore, Gideon knew that he was not the one that delivered them. He knew God was the one that delivered them. And with God's confidence, he was able to direct them back to the person who delivered them, which was God. And he said, I will not rule over thee, neither shall my sons rule over thee, not even my generation. The Lord shall rule over you. So he put them back under the hand of the Lord, which is exactly what we should be doing. Let's go on. Verse 24. And Gideon said to them, I would desire a request of you that ye would give me every man the earrings of his prey. For they had gold earrings because they were Ishmaelites. So the Ishmaelites wore gold earrings, and it was an example of the prey that they had conquered. Verse 25, and they answered, we will willingly give them, And they spread a garment and did cast therein every man the earrings of his prey. And the weight of the gold earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, besides ornaments and collars and purple raiment that was on the kings of Midian, and beside the chains that were about their camels' necks. And so that came to about $108,800 or 57 pounds. That was a lot, right? And verse 27, and Gideon made an ephod thereof and put it in his city, even in Ophrah, and all Israel went thither and whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted up their heads no more, and the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. And so here we can see that even though Gideon's walking in the confidence of the Lord, he turned around and pulled in spoil from the enemy that had been conquered, and then took that and made an ephod, so it was something that could be worshiped. And they did. They went whoring after it. They worshiped the things that God gave rather than the giver, which was God. And we have a tendency to do that today. We should never get so big in what we've accomplished that we worship it instead of worshiping God. And I'll tell you, one of the prayers that I have prayed and I continue to pray is, God, please, if there is anything that will stand between me and you as you grow my business, as you grow my life, as you make me more prosperous, I pray that if anything stands between you and me in that, I would ask you to reveal it to me, show me, and move it out of the way. I don't want anything standing between me and God. There's not that much prosperity in the world that would be worth it. And so Gideon fell prey to that here. And so even though he was walking in confidence of the Lord, he still had moments of flesh. And that does happen to all of us, right? Because all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. No one is perfect except Christ himself. And then verse 29, and Jerubbaal, which is Gideon, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house. And Gideon had 70 sons, and his body begotten, for he had many wives. Verse 31, and his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bore him a son whose name was Abimelech. And Gideon, the son of Joash, died in his old age and was buried in the scepter of Joash his father in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel turned again and went to whoring after Balaam, and made Baal-berith their god. And the children of Israel remembered not the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side, neither showed their kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had showed unto Israel. Now, in some reasons we can say, well, why did that happen? Well, we can go back to verse 28 and see how that happened. First of all, well, let me go back to 27. Because then Gideon made an ephod thereof of the gold earrings, right? And put it in the city, even Ophrah, and all the Israel went in thither whoring after it, and after the thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. So it became a snare because they started worshiping the thing that was accomplished and not the person who helped them to accomplish it. And so then Gideon had peace, but then for his family, so he had taken a wife, as we see in verse 31. One of his concubines was from Shechem, and she bore him a son, Abimelech. And so here he had a son through the enemy, which was not operating according to the will of God. And because of that, he ended up with the enemy's seed, so to speak, in his family line. And then that became a problem. And then they started worshiping the gods of Shechem, which was Balaam and Baal-bereth, Balbereth, there we go, their God. So they started worshiping other gods instead of worshiping the true and living God. And so then it just kind of goes on from there. So we have to be careful. Even though we're walking in the confidence of the Lord, we need to be careful doing things that God tells us not to do. Most of the time, I look back in Deuteronomy where God was talking about the blessings and the curses, and he said, I will bless you. He said, but do not, when I give you victory over the enemy that you conquer, you need to wipe them completely out. Do not keep anything. And so they didn't follow that. And he obviously told them that because he knew that if you kept anything from there, it would be a snare to you, between you and me. And surely that's exactly what happened here. They kept spoil from the enemy when they were supposed to wipe them all out, and they made it like a shrine and they started worshiping it. And from there, they went on to worship other gods instead of worshiping the true and living God, which Gideon was a representation of the true and living God. So anyway, wanted to share that with you today. And so here we see the height of confidence with Gideon, that they wanted him to rule because he had victory through the confidence he had in God, and because he had earned it through the victory that he had, and delivered them. But yet he had confidence enough in God to say, no. God is the one who will reign over you, not me. And we need to stay with that and not do some of the other stuff. So anyway, that's what I want to share with you today. I think I might be continuing on with Gideon. We will see. We'll check with the Lord. So I'll see you back on Wednesday. We're here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. God bless you guys. Bye for now.